Welcome to our channel. I'm Shilpa Nagaraju, who will be presenting Indian art and culture for UPSC, APFC, AOEO examination. Please like and subscribe our channel and share our videos with the fellow aspirants. We will be covering the entire syllabus prescribed for UPSC, APFC, AOEO examination. It will be very fruitful for you if you follow our channel because we are going to cover the entire aspects of it. And in our previous video continue of art and culture, we have seen the Indus Valley civilization and the Mauryan, the post-Mauryan period art and architecture. So in this videos, this is the part one of the upcoming videos wherein we will be covering the Indian temple architecture. It cannot be completed in one video, so I have made it into different parts. So this is the part one of that temple architecture. So a few words about me is I have 6 years teaching experience online and offline. I've completed my masters in public administration and am pursuing PhD. Have given UPSC CSE interview and qualified for UGC NET. I have 6 years experience in government sector. So having said that, let's see today the first part of temple architecture of India under the heading Temples of India. If you see in the image here, you have the different basic parts of a Indian temple wherein you have a kalasha at the top of the temple, under that a amalaka, then a shikara, then a mantapa, garbhagriha and ardha mantapa. So imagining you don't know what is a kalasha, what is a amalaka, what is a shikara, what's a mantapa and garbhagriha, we will be dealing with all these parts in our next slides. So how did these temples of India evolve? So initially when you saw the Indus Valley civilization or the Mauryan or the post-Mauryan, you saw, also we have covered the Guptan, yes. So we saw the emerging of cave architecture, and in the Guptan period we saw five different phases of temple evolution. So the initial phase was the rock cut cave temples, and this later led to the development of monolithic rathas in Mamalapuram of Tamil Nadu and the structural temples. So Indian temples can be classified into two broad orders, that is the Nagara in the North India, Dravida in South India. Of course, the Nagara has a different subcategories and Dravida also as subcategories. Why do we have the subcategories? Because these temples, the subcategory temples, were the contribution of individual dynasties or rulers of different regions of our country. So broadly, we have two. One is the Nagara in the North India, and South India you have the Dravidan. So at times you also see the Vesara style of temples, which are independent style of Nagara and Dravida, and they are being created through the mixture of the elements of Nagara and Dravida orders. Now we'll focus on the features of these Hindu temple. First one being Garbhagriha. What is Garbhagriha? In the picture, you can see there is a pillared hall. Amidst that, you have the main deity, that is the Linga, and it is in a small place. And you are doing a puja there. So Garbhagriha literally means womb house and is a cave like a sanctum. The earliest temples, these Garbhagriha was like a small cubical structure, and there was a single entrance for the temple. So later on, these temples became the centers of power and they grew into a larger complex. This Garbhagriha is a womb house, and here we place the main deity of the temple, and we will focus here for much ritual attention. So this is the main place of the temple wherein the main deity is kept and worshipped. Clear? Next is the mandapa. So here in front of the Garbhagriha, you find different pillars, isn't it? So this is the mandapa. So the pillared hall or the entrance to the temple is called a mantapa. You can see in the image here, you have a mantapa here wherein in old times there used to be events like music performance or dance performance or puppetry or theater used to be performed or done in this mantapa. So basically it is an entrance to the temple. There will be different series of columns placed at regular intervals. If you see here, there are different pillars here, right? The columns means it is pillars. It incorporates space for a large number of worshippers. As I told you, dances and such other entertainments were practiced here. Even today, there is lot of practice of Indian visual arts in this mantapa. So some temples have multiple mantapas in different sizes. One is Ardha Mantapa, Mantapa, Maha Mantapa. See this temple where you are seeing, it is a basic mantapa. Like people used to gather here and in the middle they used to perform some dance or some music and they used to worship God. But as the temple grew in size, there were different mantapas surrounding the temple, like the Ardha Mantapa or Maha Mantapa, Kalyana Mantapa, etc., wherein different activities were performed in this mantapa. So simply you remember that this mantapa is an entrance to the temple and there will be many pillars at regular intervals in this mantapa. So here in a temple, I told you there will be pillar like structure called Shikara or Vimana. This is a Nagara style of temple. This is like a mountain or a pillar. Okay, so this is a Shikara or Vimana. They are mountain like the spire of a freestanding temple. The Shikara is found in North Indian temples, while in South Indian temples you find it as Vimana. The structure of the Shikara or the Vimana is different in the Nagara style as well as the Dravidian style. So the Shikara is called in North Indian temples and it has a curving shape, while Vimana has a pyramidal like structure. So this is the basic difference. Next is we have the Amalaka. It is a stone-like disc. This structure is at the top of the temple and they are common in North Indian temples. You can see here in this picture the Amalaka. Okay, it's a disc-like structure. Kalasha is the topmost point of the temple and commonly seen in North Indian temples. Again, going back here, look at the Kalasha. On the top of Amalaka, you can find the Kalasha. The Amalaka is a disc-like structure and Kalasha is placed just above the Amalaka. So what is this Antarala or vestibule? It is a transition area between the Garbhagriha where the main deity is placed and the temple's main hall, which is called the Mandapa. Jagati is a raised platform for sitting and praying and is common in North Indian temple. If you see the Guptan art and architecture, I have told you that 5 different phases of development of a Hindu temple. In that you can see this raised platform wherein in from the third phase of temple development, wherein this raised platform was used for sitting and praying. Vahana is the mount or vehicle of the temple's main deity along with the standard pillar or dwaj which is placed actually before the sanctum. See here, if you see here, there is a Nandi in front of the Garbhagriha, right? Nandi is the mount or the vehicle of Shiva. So it is directly in front of the main deity. So that is the Vahana. So please remember these features. That is Garbhagriha, wherein the main deity of the temple is placed and it will be taking the much ritual attention. Next we have the Mandapa. It is the entrance to the temple, and you find many visual arts here performing in the temple. Next you have the Shikara or the Vimana. Shikara is the North Indian edition. Vimana is the South Indian edition. In the north you have the curving shape, while in south you have the pyramidical shape. Amalaka is a stone disc-like structure. It will be on the top of the temple. On the top of this Amalaka, you have this Kalasha. Antarala is a transition between the Garbhagriha and the Mandapa. Jagati is a raised platform. Here, our people will sit and pray, and it is very common in North Indian temples. Vahana is a mount or vehicle of the temple's main deity, along with the standard pillar or dwaj, which is placed axially before the sanctum. Next is Nagara or North Indian type of temple. If you see in the image, you can see the Amalaka, the Kalasha, the Shikara, the Garbhagriha, and the Antarala, which is the vestibule, Mahamantapa, Mantapa, Ardhamantapa, and which direction the temple is facing, the Jagati, etc. So, this Nagara style of temple is popular in northern India, and it's very common here to build an entire temple on a stone platform. The steps will be leading up to the temple. In South India, it is not like this, like there will be no praised platform and the steps will be leading to it, but they will usually have the boundary walls or the gateways. Earliest temple had only one shikara, but in later periods, multiple shikaras came to be constructed. The Garbhagriha is always located directly under the tallest tower. Nagara temples can be subdivided mainly into three based on the Shikara type. So please remember, in the North Indian side, you have the Nagara style of temple architecture, very popular in North India. And here you have a stone platform, and the steps will be leading us to the temple entrance. And earlier temples used to have only one shikara. Later on, there was addition of different shikaras, and the Garbhagriha is always placed directly under the tallest shikara. So based on the shikara type, we have three main types of Nagara temple. One is the Latina or the Reka Prasada. This is very simple and is most common type of shikara in the Nagara style of architecture. So how is it? It has a square at the base, and the walls are curved, or it's curving inwards to a point on the top. These Latina types are mainly used for housing the Garbhagriha. Very simple type. The initial first stage of development of temples usually have this Latina or the Reka Prasada. Very common and very simple. Square base, and the Shikara will be sloping inwards to the point on the top, and it houses the Garbhagriha. So this is the first type. Second is the Phamsana. This is quite broader, but it is also shorter. The roof will compose several slabs. It gently rises to a single point over the center of the building. It will not curve inwards like the Latina type. It will slope upwards on a straight incline. In many North Indian temples, the Pamsana type is used for mantapas, while the main Garbhagriha is housed in the Latina building. So North Indian temples may you can see the Pamsana type is used for the mantapas, while Latina will be housing the Garbhagriha. Okay, so this is the second. The third is Vallabi. This is rectangular, and there will be a roof. It will be raising into vaulted chambers. The edge of this vaulted chamber will be round, and it will be having bamboo or wooden wagons, and it will be drawn. It would have been drawn by bullocks in ancient times. This is very much influenced by the ancient building forms which were already in existence. So three types based on the types of shikara in the Nagara style of architecture. One is the Latina or the Reka Prasada. Second is the Pamsana. Third is the Vallabi. We'll see the Central Indian temples. In the later periods, the temples grew from the simple four-pillared structures to a very large complex. Similar developments were incorporated in the architecture of temples of both the religions. Two such temples were there. One is at Udayagiri. This is on the outskirts of Vidisha. It's a part of the large Hindu temple complex, and a temple at Sanchi, which is a Buddhist site. The early temples were modest looking shrines. They will have four pillars that support a small mantapa before an equally small room that served as Garbhagriha. Some of the oldest surviving structural temples of Gupta period are in Madhya Pradesh. The ancient temple is in UP, MP and Rajasthan. They have the same traits, and most visible is they are made of sandstone which was locally available. First temple here we will see is the Shavatara Vishnu temple, which is at Deoghad, Uttar Pradesh. This was built during the late Guptan period, who were the Brahmanical rulers, unlike their ancestors who were Buddhist rulers. It was built during the 6th century Common Era. It has a Panchayatana style. The Panchayatana style is an architectural style. The main shrine is built on a rectangular plinth with four smaller subsidiary shrines at the four corners and making it a total of five shrines. So there will be one in the middle and four on the other four corners. Got it? So Panchayatana, Pancha means five. So in the middle there will be one main deity and the other four corners will have other deities. So total 5 deities will be placed in this temple. So best example is this Dashavatara Vishnu temple, which is in Uttar Pradesh. Next example is Khajuraho temples. This was built by Chandela kings. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and it was built in 10th century Common Era. This was made of sandstone. This is Khajuraho temple is not just one temple, it's a temple complex comprising of many temples, and the largest of these temples is the Kandarya Mahadeva temple, which is in Ganda. Lakshmana temple is dedicated to Vishnu and it was built in 954 CE. Danga king had built this. These Khajuraho temples are very famous for extensive erotic sculptures, and why had they included this sculpture is because human experience as a spiritual pursuit is in this erotic sculptures, and this is a part of the larger cosmic whole. So these temples, if you recall, they were sites of education. So to attain knowledge, men used to come to temple and they used to be celibates or observe brahmacharya here. So after brahmacharya they had to enter the family phase. So they had to prepare for the family too. That's why to teach them there were these sculptures carved around the temple so that the this is also a part of the larger cosmic whole. So highly stylized with typical features of Nagara style of temple architecture. So we will move on to Western Indian temples. There are two numerous temples in the northwestern parts of India, including Gujarat and Rajasthan, and stylistically extendable at times to western Madhya Pradesh. The stones to build temples range in color and type. While sandstone is the commonest, a grey to black basalt can be seen in some of the 10th to 12th century temple sculptures. The most exuberant and famed are the manipulatable soft white marble of the 10th to 12th century Jain temples in Mount Abu and the 15th century temple at Ranathpur. Among the most important art historical sites in the region are Samlaji in Gujarat. It shows how earlier artistic traditions of the region mixed with a post-Guptan style and gave rise to a distinct style of sculpture. A large number of sculptures were made of grey schist have been found in this region. So the first temple here is the Sun Temple of Modhera. It dates back to the early 11th century and was built by Raja Bhimdev I of the Solanki dynasty. The Solankis were a branch of later Chalukyas. This is a massive rectangular stepped tank called Surya Kund in the Sun Temple of Modhera. It is just in front of the temple. The 100 square meter rectangular pond is perhaps the grandest temple tank in India. 108 miniature shrines are carved in between the steps inside the tank. The next example can be seen in Ranika Wow of Gujarat, which is also UNESCO World Heritage Site. In this Sun Temple of Modhera, a huge ornamental arch Torana leads one to the Sabha Mantapa, that is the Assembly Hall, which is open on all sides, as was the fashion of the times in Western and Central Indian temples. So this is very, very important um, temple for you. So I have covered only till the East India, Central India, and the North India. In the next part, we will see the East Indian temples, and we will also see the Kalinga architecture, which is very, very important from your examination point of view. Then the hill types of temples, and then move on to the Dravida or the South Indian temple architecture. So thank you so much, and please be following our videos and like and subscribe, and also share our videos to your fellow aspirants and keep motivating us. Thank you so much and have a nice day.